Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Thank you for joining the Ramadan Reflection Series. This will be the last of this series in this blessed month. As always, I intend for this to be casual. I will offer a short reflection and then we will have some time for questions and discussion after. I will be recording the reflection portion of this, and I ask that you keep your mics on mute during this time. Jazakallah khair. Today I'll be talking about the story of Musa alayhi salam and the idea of cultivating connection. Prior to the life of physical distancing, something that caught my attention was the way in which we greeted each other given a fast-paced society that we lived in, one in which efficiency was to the point that many of us were rushed from one activity to the next. One of the consequences of such a lifestyle is that our interactions with other people were much shorter. It was a rare occurrence for us to take time and effort to sit with a friend and be completely present with them. Even when we were with one another, we were thinking about the next 5 tasks that needed to be done. For some, this has changed as we have reoriented much of our lives and we are able to take a few steps back to think about how we connect with one another beyond just the platform that may be best. For some, this has become a time of increased busyness, and while there may be connection with more people online, there still remains the lack of depth with some of these connections and relationships. Today I want to talk about the art of communication and building a rapport with one another. As we have spent about 2 months in physical distance with one another and have navigated how we connect, the art of communication is ever more present than before. Our body language says so much more than we often realize, and much of it is lost online, even if we use video. The importance of communication is illustrated in the simple gesture of greeting one another. When we see someone, we often ask, "How are you?" but may only get a short response from the other person. I know for myself, more likely than not, my answer is a brief 4 words. "Good, how are you?" or "Alhamdulillah, how are you?" When this happens, as we pass by someone when we are walking, we don't even stop for this exchange. It happens as we continue to walk. Now, even when I'm talking with family, friends, or colleagues, and I know that I have a bit more time to chat, my answer often remains the same 4 words, even if it's not an accurate representation of how I'm feeling. But when we take a few extra moments to talk with another person, we are telling them that they are important to us, that we care about them, and that they are significant in our lives, and thus building a greater trust and a foundation for a meaningful relationship. One of the best examples to demonstrate how important a seemingly simple conversation is found in the story of Musa alayhi salam. In one of his encounters with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah asks Musa alayhi salam, "What is in your hand?" Musa alayhi salam could have briefly answered the question literally and stated that he was holding a staff, ending the conversation. But he did not do that. Instead, he responded by saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Taha, "It is my staff," he said. "I lean on it, restrain my sheep with it. I also have other uses for it." Chapter 20, verse 18. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Musa a simple question, and it is He who is all-knowing and all-seeing, does not need an answer. But this demonstrates the opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives Musa alayhi salam to establish a foundation for a deeper relationship. Musa alayhi salam accepts this by his response. He elongates his answer, providing more details simply to extend the conversation. He recognizes what an honor it is to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to have the opportunity that he has, so he's doing whatever it takes to make it last as long as possible. This is the attitude that we should have when we greet others, regardless if they are someone we met 5 minutes prior or have known for the past 10 years. Each conversation is a gift we are given to get to know one another in a new way. Through these conversations, we are building a stronger community and connection with one another. Each of us has a story to tell, and we owe it to one another, and more importantly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take the time to learn about the diversity that each of us encompasses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Hujurat, "People, we have created you from a single man and single woman, and made you into races and tribes so that you may recognize one another." Chapter 49, verse 13. Building community does not happen overnight or by flipping a switch. It takes time, commitment, and effort. It begins with greeting one another and getting to know each other on a personal level. While it may feel like some of these conversations are more surface levels and not the ones that build the depth necessary for community, they are an essential component and can have meaning and purpose if we intend them to be means of building relationships. We should also remember that we will get out of our relationships what we put into them. This is an opportunity to share with one another something about who we are. I'm not expecting or suggesting that we will bear all of our personal details in our first conversation. But even adding a few sentences or details is a way to affirm the person in front of you that they are important and can share. They're important enough that you want to share parts of your life with them and that you will invite them to do the same about themselves. Again, not all relationships will look the same, and that's okay. But each of our relationships begin with greeting one another. So next time you are asked how you are, I'll invite you to take a few extra moments to think about how your answer can be part of building a relationship with the next person. Ya Allah, who's As-Salam, the source of peace, enable us to give the best of greeting to all those with whom we encounter. Let your peace and mercy emanate into all of our connections and relationships. Ya Allah, who is Al-Mu'izz, the bestower of honors, let us honor the beauty and dignity of all of your creation, and especially with those with whom we have a relationship. Ya Allah, who is Al-Wadud, the loving one, infuse our relationships with the utmost love and allow us to be bearers of this love. Ameen. Jazakallah khair for joining me, and I hope that you have a blessed last few days of Ramadan.